if you're able to fly, really control fly, like the eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing, why would you need roads?
Because most eVTOLs, they go up vertically and then they have the motors tilting. Why haven't you incorporated that design?
Yeah.
Why didn't we go that route?
Doesn't matter today which kind of car you have. If you have a Tesla or Ferrari or Rolls-Royce or Mercedes, you're still traveling in the same place, hitting the same traffic jams or the same obstacles.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Doroni Podcast. This is our third episode. Trying to get the hang of it. We're getting there, but we're getting a lot of feedback, so we'll continue doing this. Today, we're meeting again with our CEO, Doron Merdinger, to follow up after a few months of the release of the H1-X to learn about, what inspired this design, what was the journey of bringing the H1-X to life. So subscribe to our podcast to stay in touch with our development. Please leave comments below. Let us know what you want to hear about, any specific questions. Okay, welcome back, Doron.
Hey, Abe.
Okay, awesome. Let's dive in straight to the conversation that everybody wants to have. Is the H1-X was just released in March. We sat down in February, and we discussed a little bit, about the company, about the journey. Now as you see, the H1-X is out there, and this is, a vision of 7 years, correct? From your idea until actually showcasing a final go to market design. Can you take us back a little bit from when you picked up the first pencil to start designing the first model and how you got it and how you got to this beautiful design?
Yeah. So it really was, the vision of having a flying car that what propelled me from the start. And you can see the inspiration behind all these futuristic movies. For me, the question was really how the propulsion system will work, not really if it's gonna happen or not, because I knew, like many of us, that flying cars are happening. So as it happened, that my eureka moment was I saw this kid playing with a drone, and I saw how accurate and how easy it's to control, and understand. Okay, now we have, the mechanism of how this thing is gonna work. So fast forward, we started in different designs. We started with what we call the Y6 configuration of 6 coaxial. Basically, it's 3 pairs of coaxial rotating motors. And then we switched to the X1, which is 4 pairs of coaxial counter-rotating motors. And then we switched to the Doroni H1P1, which is the one that actually flew inside the facility, and we got the FAA certification for. That basically was the design that we saw, the ducted design. And we knew that at that point that we have to come up with a more efficient airframe. This design was an initial design that helps us hover and fly and show, okay, we have something in our hand. But then we took our time, and it was challenging. We tested 13, 14 different iterations of new design. Because the challenge is, okay, you have a sort of a quadrocopter or essentially an octocopter, right, with 8 motors. But the problem is it wasn't efficient in terms of flying forward. And we knew we had to do something to get extra lift in order to get the range that we want to achieve. So we worked with different groups from the United States that had that experience. And essentially, at one point, we were almost like, okay, let's get out with this. But I didn't feel that this is what we have in our hands, and you know that.
Right.
This was part of the discussion that we had. And I don't do things if I don't feel 100%, correct with. So it took a little bit more time. It was cooked better, hopefully not well done, which is medium. And we came up with the H1-X, which is a beautiful design. For me, it touches 2 main points. The first point is that it's the most efficient airframe that you can find for this mission, for this ability of this eVTOL type of personnel. Because you have to be able to park it in a two-car garage, but it has to have a certain range, a certain mission to do, and it's a very versatile machine. So this is the first thing. The second thing is, and this just came nature of it, nature of the beast, is it's the most closest you can find to the sci-fi movies, this design. So it captures both our imagination, but also sustainability and practicality in the same phase.
So when you were going through all the different designs for the H1-X, what was the few key points that you really wanted to hit and you didn't want to give up on until you were able to perfect it? Like, what does the mission of this machine, like, why did you end up with this design, and why did you push so hard for I guess the efficiency and just the way it looks? If you can explain about that.
So it's a good question. One key important thing that we knew we were going to keep is the ducted fans. Okay. Ducted fans give us four main advantages, and obviously in our case, it's also, we have patents this embedded inside the wing. So the ducted fans will give you better efficiency in terms of lift weight. Also, it's more quiet, both in terms of frequency and decibel, safer in terms of, to exterior object, and also to living organism, and also flying forward, reduce bird strike. And the fourth thing, it's a nice design company. So we knew we have to keep it. And that poses a lot of issues, because when you have ducted fans and they're not rotating and they're stationary inside the wing, you get extra drag because of their presence, right? It's essentially a hole. Right. Inside the wing.
It's like a vacuum.
Like a vacuum, yeah. And so the air that goes over the wing will go inside the hole and create extra drag. And it took us time until we find solutions. For example, the wind fences that we have, also patented, that help us reduce this drag as well. Another thing that, because we, most of the design that you see out there really looks more like a drone. So it's just a cabin and 4 or 8 propellers, just motor propellers. And we knew we had to get extra lift, so we created tandem wings, right? So that's another thing. Another thing is, one of the key components to create drag are the landing gear, And usually the solution for that will be to fold it in. And this is another problem. It's always a compromise. It's like, and I'm looking at it as like a Swiss Army knife. The compromise is that if you fold it in, you have to more, actuator, energy, it takes place, it's more expensive, more points of failure. And if you keep it out, there's a drag. So we found a way, which also patented, that we created wings. So essentially the rear landing gear is a wing. So it gives us more lift, efficiency, in order to create a bigger, longer range, essentially. And we have more things that patented, but I think these are the keys, and this is what created the H1-X.
Also, one of the key features that really people are really surprised that we don't have any tilting motors, because most eVTOLs, they go up vertically and then they have the motors tilting. Why haven't you incorporated that design?
Yeah.
Why didn't we go that route?
Yeah, so I saw the V22 at Osprey is it's a very expensive machine because of the point of failure. The most critical point is when the motors are turning the 90 degrees, and there's a lot of induced forces on it, a lot of problems. So I wanted to avoid that as much as possible. We wanted to avoid as much as possible. And what we've done is you take off like a drone with the ducted fans, but then you transition by using the thrusters, the rear thrusters. And then the ducts are usually used more for control surfaces. So we don't have to have other mechanical parts moving. So the idea is really to reduce moving parts as less as possible and make the machine more sustainable and user-friendly in that sense, that what you see is what you have, right? There's no other mechanical parts or things that can create issues.
Saying it's a lot of simpler design,
Right.
but making simple is not always easy.
Yeah, it's the hardest part. It really is the hardest part to do something so complex to do to make it easy. But once you get it, once you're able to capture the best of all worlds, at that point you have a product, that can be produced and be sold. And this is what I believe we have.
Right, and another question I've been getting a lot, and I understand it now, but a lot of people on social media and everywhere ask, why don't we design it like a car, right? Everybody's like, flying car, it doesn't look like a car. Like, in your vision, like, does flying cars, the idea that it's going to be a car and fly, work together? And what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I was born in the year of the GT Bang Bang car. And again, it's inspiration behind. The idea is nice, beautiful. But you can think about it, if you're able to fly, really control fly, like the eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing, why would you need roads? Why would you need this infrastructure that basically destroy our habitat, our natural habitat, right? The ecosystem. I mean, there's no point, because you take off vertically and you land vertically. So essentially you can land everywhere, right? The flying car that we see today, the actual flying cars, are essentially cars that have both what's called propulsion system to fly and to also move on the ground, right? They cannot take off vertically. So they're basically taking off on a runway. So it's not really, it's harder to control. In my case, that I see it, it's much more dangerous than what we do. Okay. It's not electric. It needs different type of certification. It's a much more complex mechanism to do. And the whole idea is to simplify it, to make it more, both safer and sustainable.
So you're saying the idea of a flying car is not necessarily we're going to drive on the road with it. The idea is to be super accessible and so simple to fly that it's used like a car, but not necessarily going to be the shape of a car.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking to drive, you have a different system, right? It doesn't matter if it's electric or combustion engine. You have to power. The powertrain is 4 wheels. Right. Rubber meets the road and all these complex, and you have to have the certification from the DMV. Right. And then you have to fly, so you have to have the FAA. So you have to have 2 type of certifications, so complex. And what's the benefit of it? I mean, you take off on a runway, and okay, so I have a car that my wings are opening. I think at the beginning it was Batman's idea, but even Batman has changed to an eVTOL, right. Because it just takes off vertically. And the mechanical flying car, the one that I just described, cannot take off vertically. And
the idea is to build something so small that you don't need, you're traveling through the air.
Yeah, exactly.
And you want to make it efficient enough. To make it efficient enough to be so simply flown in the air and so agile in the air.
And park, easy parking, easy charging, right? Easy flying.
So you can't do that with both designs. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to perfect it for the air.
Yeah, you have to perfect for the mission that you're trying to achieve. Right. The mission is commuting easily, safely, and also experience nature. Right. So in that case, you just, this is what we're doing. You taxi out with electric motors outside of you, 2-car garage, the open space. You hit, the button there and just go vertically, slowly, safely, and you're still immersed in nature. You're able to see the world around you from a different perspective, and you experience, time and space from a different dimension, essentially, that you did until now. Because, as we know, Doesn't matter today which kind of car you have. If you have a Tesla or Ferrari or Rolls-Royce or Mercedes, you're still traveling in the same place, hitting the same traffic jams or the same obstacles. The only thing you wish is to go through that phase as comfortably as possible. But you're not enjoying to see the scenery around you. And even if you have like a regular aircraft, I mean, most of the time you'll be above clouds. In our case, you get the best of both worlds. You can see the world, and you don't go through, traffic jams, and you still enjoy, to see everything below you at a relatively lower altitude of a couple of 100 feet, up to 1,500 feet, the most, which is still, you see everything around you. You can enjoy it.
Right. It's going to basically elevate the way we travel and really give us
Right.
A different perspective on our daily commute. On the other hand, we get a lot of questions as well. Like people want to know. It's like, how's this really going to integrate into our daily lives? Like, there's going to be millions up in the air and everything like that. Like, drivers don't know how to drive on the road and so on. There's so many different questions.
The same question all the time.
Yeah, there's going to be millions. How are you going to do
Yeah.
this? How are you going to do that? How do you see over the next 10 years this industry playing out? You think it's going to happen overnight? Because most people, right, flying cars, how's it going to work? We're going to have thousands in the air. I'm like, can you maybe give a perspective from a founder, from the industry standpoint of how's this actually going to look over the next 10, 15 years? Yeah, how will this become a main form of transportation over time? But how is it going to get to that point?
Right. So from the early concept that we started to make, I was engaging one of the professors here at one of the universities in Florida here. I believe it was FAU. And they were pushing for more of the autonomous vehicles, which has their own challenges. And eventually they told me, listen, all forms of transportation, main ones, trains, cars, aircraft, started as niche players. They're doing for the mail, for the military, and gradually they became one of the main form of transportation. So I don't see us stop using cars, or this will replace that, will replace that. It becomes like one ecosystem, okay? It's not going to happen overnight that suddenly we stop driving and we start flying like the Fifth Element, okay? But it definitely has its space, and there's endless use cases that this can be used, not just for commuting, rescuing, people from a hiker, or in military use, rescuing, or reconnaissance, or assessment by the police, EMS. There's endless use cases, tourism, farming. So I see that starting as the beginning. Obviously, it's not for everyone, the price point. So it will start, but then when it grows, these people see how safe it is, how easy to use, and how feasible this machine is. It will take its place among main form of transportation. And the FAA, EASA, the European counterpart, they know that this is happening. And obviously we're sitting advising to the groups. It just takes time. It's not going to like everybody, okay, you know what, I'm going to take my car and I'm going to create some sort of an accident in the space. It's kind of funny, people asking those questions. How can you ask those questions? People have pilot license. Do they go and crash every day? No. So why, but there's a lot of naysayers. And every time you introduce a new technology, I understand. It's something like, people don't feel comfortable. But, it happened with the car. People were laughing at cars because they're used to a horse and a buggy, right? It happened with wireless phones. It happened with it's always like that. But this technology is here to stay. It's not gonna, this is just a normal progression of our evolution.
But also, it's not going to happen like overnight.
It's not going to happen overnight.
There's going to be regulation.
There'll be regulation
and
systems, and it's not like everybody's going to fly everywhere. No, this is not. They'll have a special airspace that it can do it, You have corridors. This is what the FAA is talking about: corridors in the sky, like highways in the sky. So there's multiple solutions, given even the technology that this is made. I mean, today there's something called geofencing that's already used by drones. For example, you cannot. It's a kind of invisible wall, a barrier. You will not be able to cross an area that it's basically masked, or like a government agency.
Right.
So for the drones, and also for eVTOLs, it will be easier to implement those traffic systems, management systems.
We see the increase. We're not just the only player in the market. There's so many of the air taxis, recreational. What do you see in the industry of manufacturers, like companies that are developing all these systems? How do you see the advancements of the latest technologies playing a role in this new boost of eVTOL companies and people starting to develop it? How's it grown from a couple of years ago, and how do you see major manufacturers preparing for this revolution, as you want to call it, or industry?
So interestingly enough, unfortunately, there are wars all around us. There's the Middle East, there's Ukraine, there's other covert operation. The amount of drones that has been deployed in this kind of situation is enormous, because they found that those systems are easy to control, easy to produce, and much more efficient than using expensive vehicles. Is it even for it's reconnaissance, for bombing, for other things like digital masking or any other digital warfare, all using drones. And you can send a swarm of them, right? So even think about it, using a Doroni for situation like before and after a hurricane to rescue people. You send a swarm of them. The price point of like 10 units will be maybe a third of an actual helicopter.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So with maybe 30 Doroni will cost the same price as one helicopter. So what happening is that the world is changing around us by using those systems, drones, bringing them up to an eVTOL level to carry passengers or high payload, right? So this is kind of the things that it's been happening. So you cannot avoid them anymore. It's here to stay, and it's always like that. That you have at the beginning small players like us, that they pave the way, and then the big, the big companies are following suit. So I heard one Boeing guy said in one of the presentation, he said, "You are like the speedboats, and we are the cruisers. You're showing the direction." So this is how we see ourselves.
Awesome. Because I also heard from some of the engineers here that the companies that they're working with, they're really spending a lot of money into development, to creating parts for the eVTOL industry. And it's not just companies like us, it's a whole ecosystem that's really preparing for this.
Mostly it's for the air taxi, which is one, genre, market size of this industry, the eVTOL, which is not what we do, right? They're basically, what we do is the last mile solution. So how do you get from here to an airport or to another place? The eVTOLs, you have to take the air taxi. You have to take a car, drive to the airport, park it there, and then go vertical. So they're usually most like in ride-sharing service, and we are really selling the vehicle. So it's a different thing. So we are really behind them as the next gen.
Right, we're the next stage of
behind
it, but we're feeding off a lot.
Yeah,
from what I'm seeing.
And exactly, and also from the EV, the electric vehicles. I mean, the battery technology keeps improving tremendously, all the sales, and they see the value in that, and we are feeding out of that.
Since releasing the H1-X, now what has the team been working on? What are the challenges? What are the accomplishments we've done the last couple months, and how have you seen us playing out over the next couple of months?
So we basically worked very hard to gather all the data from the tests we've been making, and also from the information we've been gathering, and we created a roadmap, including wind tunnel and other testing that we need to do. So we know exactly the 12 months, well, essentially the 24 months that we need to do in order to complete. So we also built our own equipment, some of it at least. We built our own motor text fixture that we test the coaxial counter-rotating motors. At one point, we'll introduce a duct around them as well. So this is something we get the data like, temperature, volt, amps, noise levels. I mean, all the data, the RPM, everything that we need to. Okay. And so this is one thing we've been doing and pretty successful until we perfect it, because we want to get the best result. Remember, it has to fit into a wing, so it has to be embedded inside. We are also doing the interface as well, the new interface as well, that will work for the H1-X, make it even cleaner, simpler to use, and doing like component like the special joystick that we need to have, battery pack, the power packs, what type of cells that we're testing as well, building the packs as well that will fit, the charging mechanism. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that we're doing at the same time. Some things are faster, some things are slower, but we feel very confident that we're on the right track. Also now we're checking the possibility of building a full-size showroom model. This is something that also we're checking at this point. That will have, it will not fly, but it will have most of the features that we're looking to see inside. That will help us get the ergonomics of the system, how you feel inside. You will have the simulator inside as well, so you can sit and actually fly it, like the new one that we just introduced. And also help us understand more in terms of how this thing can just take the space around us. And also, obviously, with fundraising, we get the investor to feel how this machine looks, and how it behaves.
Right. So building the full-scale model, definitely we want to do a roadshow. I believe we, at the end of this year, want to do a roadshow of showcasing the full-scale. People it's very interesting. We're talking to some of the companies to build a model, and they all say the same thing. It's like you don't understand the product that you're building off of a computer until you actually see the size and actually stand next to it. So that's actually a really exciting thing. I'm personally also looking forward, and I think everybody is, really to see, from the renders into a full scale. And how do you see the flying model playing out? Like, what challenges do you still see on the way, or what improvements of technologies, advancements that actually gives you like this will actually be able to accomplish it and get done more than we think we would?
We already, we already at least noted them ahead of time. We know what we need to achieve in terms of testing and milestones. Everything is a challenge. But it's part of the things that we like to do. Honestly, it's like being a football player, right? The challenge to bring you up to that level, but you love it, you do it.
Right.
I'm sharing my experience with my son, right?
Right.
My oldest son, who's a quarterback. So, it's a challenge to do what we do, but I don't see it as a challenge. I love it.
Awesome. Okay.
For me, it's my nature. This is what I was given to do. So it's not a challenge. It's the things that we need to do, and we're doing it.
Got it. So you're saying it's more of continue developing,
Yeah,
of course, fundraising.
it's
We need-
there's always be okay. Are we having the right motor here? Is this the right solution? But it's part of the process, you know. I mean, there's growing pains, right? Like we grow up. There's pains in our body when we grow up, but you grow up. So this machine is happening. So you know, it's a part of the process of the natural process of development.
Right. It is amazing that how much we were able to accomplish with. I mean, right now we're almost close to $7 million of total raise at our early stage funding, and we're able to get this far. And I think we're all excited for the coming raise.
And we would like to thank all our backers at this point who believe in what we do. And until now, we did not disappoint them. And we're hoping only to surprise them in a good way for the coming future.
Yeah, I
Thank
strongly
you,
believe
everybody,
yeah,
for
thank
the
you.
support. Much appreciate that we're doing it.
Yeah, they're amazing. All of our followers, they're amazing. Constantly, only good. We have people continuously reinvesting and supporting and telling their friends about it. And I mean, over 2,500 people now in our community, and it's just the beginning. Hopefully, we do the roadshow very shortly, and we'll be able, people will be able to touch it and feel it, get into the virtual reality with it. That will be amazing. Actually, the new one that we just got in with the H1-X.
Yeah, they banged my head into the wall today.
Yeah.
I put the VR and I was looking around. I forgot there was a wall. I went straight to the wall.
Yeah,
But
I tried. It's too
yeah,
real.
it was amazing experience. How real it is, you know.
But it's crazy that it's like people that are like that don't understand the flying cars yet, and like we have the virtual reality. Like if you would go 10 years ago and tell someone that you'll be able to have a virtual reality that's so realistic, and like now it's like everybody has it. It's like it just comes to show how things just once technology hits, it just gets there.
Yeah, it's a natural. It becomes natural. That's
it's amazing the technology in 10 years ago you didn't have anything like this, and now you can completely feel how everything's going. Awesome. So thank you for your time, Doron.
Thank you for your
time. We got
time.
a good update over here. I think people constantly asking for more updates. So don't forget to check in the webinar August 14, 1 p.m. We'll be showing some more details, more visuals of the H1-X, give you a more detailed update, and please register. You'll get an email, and you can submit your questions. So please join us there, and see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.